Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In my last video I looked at an FM synthesizer for the iPad called KQ Dixie, which harks back to the 1980s and the Yamaha DX7 sound and all the synthesizers which sort of followed from there. Now in this video I'm going to look at another app which is, spoiler alert, freely available, and it might be something which you wish to consider. So early this year, AudioKit released their latest app called King of FM. Now this is essentially an update to one of their previous apps, which was the FM Player and FM Player 2. And what's different about this one is that rather than being a full synthesizer, the sounds are baked in and provided as samples from original hardware, and then the software allows you to combine them and mess them around in different ways, so you can keep that 1980s vibe but without having to roll your sleeves up and get really down and dirty with the synthesis itself. So for preset lovers like me, this is really a great app, and let's dive into it. When we open King of FM, we get the typical AudioKit layout. On the info page there's some details about the app, and to explain, this is effectively a Rompler. It's a pile of sampled instruments from the SY77, DX7 and DX7 Mark II. Now unlike apps such as DX or DX, I'll try and get it right, and KQ Dixie, we're not going back to the main principles of FM synthesis. These sounds are provided for you, but what King of FM does is allows you to manipulate them in a different way. So if, like me, you're more a preset user rather than a sound designer, then this is probably an easier app for you to actually get along with. It also helps that it's free. Did I mention that before? It has 4 main screens which are up in the top left hand corner. The main screen just gives us our overriding sort of volume and reverb, stereo, and there's a delay in there as well. In the middle of the screen we can see our preset selector. If we click on that, you'll see that there are rather a lot of presets in here. You don't even need to get your hands even vaguely dirty. People have done this for you. And there's some big names in here as well. We've got people like Bryce Beasley and Red Sky Lullaby, as well as people such as Patrick from the GarageBand Guide, Jade Star from the Jade Star channel, The Fingers. So a good mixture of people who either have the experience of sound design, plus people who can take stuff and alter it to their taste and make something new out of that. We'll have a look at how this is done very shortly, but you can see there is plenty of sounds to play with. If we go into the second screen, the PCM screen, this is where we get to see how these sounds are made up. Now you can see the screen is effectively mirrored on left and right. So we have 2 preset selectors for layer 1 and for layer 2. We have a decent list of sounds, and this is from the DX library. If we click in the middle, we've got the SY library. So there's plenty of sounds to play with. The way we can work with these is by having one sound or another, or mix between the two. So we've got this mix button in the middle, and you can see at the very top of the screen there's a digital display showing you what the result of what you're doing is. We can affect the tuning of the 2 layers, so they might be tuned identically or they might be apart. You can affect the panning, but interesting on this, you can also affect the ADSR for the 2 sounds either independently, or if you want to do it overall, you just turn the link on. And what this means is that the sounds can behave differently. And we've only got that sound because the mix is turned to 100% of that. If I just take it all the way to the other side. Layer 2 is this pad which they've put in there. So if we have a mix of the 2, we can now start creating something that's different to what we started with. Let's say we want the piano to come in straight away, but we want the pad sound to swell. If we increase the attack on the pad, you can see how the pad sound builds up from that. If we move on to the third screen, we have our effects. So we've got a chorus, distortion, we can affect the filter, and it's worth noting that this is affecting the overall sound of what's coming out rather than one layer or the other. With the filter, we could affect that with the LFO, so maybe put the cutoff part way down. There we go. Then play around with the resonance as well. Other things, we've got a tremolo here. We've got portamento, that's the glide. And if you put it into monosynth mode, that isolates that even further. Now the fourth screen on here is the sequencer. This is an up to 16 step sequencer. So we've got the 16 steps along the top of the screen, and we can select how many of those steps you want to use with this adjuster in the middle of the screen. There's an on and off button. So it's just playing through. It's using 8 steps at the moment. We can change the rate, and you'll see in the middle of the screen the gating affects the length of the note. So again, this gives you the opportunity to further shape the sound that you're creating if it's part of a sequence. As it stands on this, the destination is to both layers. So both layers are being sequenced, but say we only want the piano being sequenced in this one. If we just sequence layer 1, so in order to program the sequencer, it's very, very straightforward. We can turn each step on or off by clicking this button underneath the step, and then the note can either be the note that you played, which is 0, or however many semitones out from that. So, you know, if we start with a root note, and then we'll go up a 7th, and then we'll go down 5 steps, and then maybe go up an octave. This is going to sound amazing, I don't think. So we go up an octave, down an octave. We'll leave the next one as a 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, we'll make that. We'll turn that step off, why not? And we'll finish up there. So if we press this now. You get the idea anyway. Just looking across the top of the screen, to the right of the display, we've got a pair of dice. You click that, it will go and select you a sound from the preset browser. So it's not randomizing all the settings, it's just picking a random patch. Let's go again. And again, when we've changed to a different patch, we can go into the PCM screen and see how that's created. So this EP3 multi is the only sound that's being used here because the mix knob is turned to 100% of that. We put it in the middle. We get a nice pad sound underneath that. If having done that, we want to save it, we can hit the save button. If you want to avoid overwriting what's already there, you need to change the preset name. So that is the main part of the app itself. The lower half of the screen, we've got the on-screen keyboard, which we can play around with. You can adjust how the keyboard looks. You can change between white and dark, the number of octaves. There's also the opportunity to change the velocity of the keys. So if we have normal, or the higher up the key that you press, the quieter the note actually is. Under settings, we can set up the buffer size and MIDI note details. We can impact what the mod and the pitch wheels are doing. There's an option to search for Bluetooth MIDI devices. We've got Ableton Link in there. We've got MIDI Learn, so that allows you to map physical sliders and knobs to the sliders and knobs on the app, so you don't have to start fiddling around with the screen. There's a MIDI panic, so if it all goes horribly wrong, you can press that button and it should rescue some sense of normality. We've got the note hold here, and that is specifically for the on-screen keyboard. So if you press hold and start playing around with an attached MIDI keyboard, makes no difference at all. And then you've got a tempo you can play around with, and again the octave for the keyboard that's shown. So you get the idea. And then at the left you've got your pitch bend and your mod wheel. And on this preset it looks like the mod wheel is swapping between the layers there. Let's have a few more sounds before we finish. And again, with any of these, you could go into the layers, find out how they're made up, and fiddle around with them if they're not quite what you want. So I hope you found this video useful. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that button with a thumb on it. If you like this sort of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.